What's up, YouTube? This is Justin from Party Rental Knowledge. Today, I got Steve here from Action Rides. He's a really cool guy. He actually has the Bounce House Operators page as well. Really, really cool dude. He's actually been through it all through the party world. He started from small, like just an average, just one jump guy, no jump person, just sub renting them, and then went all the way to like manufacturer. So, 30 plus years in the business. I'm not going to keep just rambling on. I'm going to actually just let him introduce yourself. What's up, Steve?
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
So just give us a little rundown, man. Give us your history. I remember you were telling us before, but just to give them a little background and then just start from the beginning.
All right. I started as a performer doing magic and things such as that when I was 12. When I was 16, I was making a pretty decent living doing shows. People started asking if I knew where they can get some rides. I used to refer people. After referring them, most of the people I referred were not getting back to customers, things like that. So I started making the calls, charging a fee, and then sending out these ride guides, like people with bounce houses, little kiddie rides. And there weren't many of them back then. But the long story short is customers started complaining to me. The quality was old. The guy didn't show up on time. And I said, why don't I just see if I could buy it myself, because I know I'm always on time. I'm always reliable. And I found somebody selling 3 used bounces. At the time, these were like 15 footers. They cost about $4,500 each. And I bought all 3 for $1,500, and they were in mint condition. The guy had them in malls, didn't want to do it anymore, and made my money back the first weekend I had them.
What year was that? And like, what did they look like back then?
Back then, this was 1989. No, maybe 1985, somewhere like that. They looked like Whoppers from Burger King. They took 2 blowers. One blower blew up the bed, kind of like these snow globes now, and the other blower blew up the inside where you bounced. But they were not sewn in rows. They just had string that would be tied from the top vinyl to the bottom vinyl, so there'd be every once in a while you see it pucker in. And so when it broke, you just went in and put a new string in and tied it up, and it was pretty simple back then.
It's like kind of how the Zorb balls are on the inside.
Similar. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a similar setup.
Design. Yeah, that's interesting. So then what? So then you started doing the jumps. What else would you started doing?
I started doing the jumps, and the ones that I had were from Moonwalk International, which is no relationship to Moonwalk USA or Moonwalker, which are different companies that took on a similar name. But the guy was named Vern. I forget his last. Vern Rieger. I think his son's on one of these. Bounce House or one of the other sites too. But anyway, we started renting those out, and then as time went on, started having to repair them. We'd crawl inside, but these were tall. Now they're 18 to 21 inches off the ground. Back then they were maybe 30 inches off the ground. You can get on your hands and knees and run around inside. They were pretty cool back then. And started repairing them, and then started hand sewing. Then I got a machine to fix them properly. Somebody out of California, manufacturer, showed me how to do it. Then people were saying, who's fixing your stuff? And I said, I'm fixing it. Then they would hire me to fix it. Now I had a repair company and a rental company, all under the same roof. But I had a new job and another income. Then one day I needed another joust, and I called up my friend in California, who some of the old guys know. His name was Mr. Inflatable. And they came from Germany. But at that point, I said, I need a joust. How fast can you get one here? He says, look, you got a machine there. You got vinyl. Make one. And he explained to me on the phone before the internet days how to sew 3 pieces of material together on one side, how to sew the middle one to the next one. And the next thing you knew, 2 or 3 days, I made a joust. It wasn't perfect, but it was my first one that I made myself. I cut it. I made it. And then I had a competitor who needed a joust and saw this one at the event. He bought mine from me, and I made another one. And the next thing you know, I was a manufacturer, and kind of grew from there. Basically, if I couldn't find somebody to make something, I found a way to make it myself. That's how my business grew.
And then that's pretty wild, actually. So like then you started just making all your own inflatables for the most part and selling your inflatables?
I loved everybody's stuff. everybody was creative, and I ran a big rental company, and I didn't mind spending money on everybody's stuff. So I owned, even though I made stuff, I owned everybody's thing.
I love it because that's what I'm about to say. Because you're a manufacturer and you own a little bit of everything. That's like what everybody should have. I think everybody should have a little bit of everything. And I love the competition in the world. And you do too as a manufacturer. That's why I'm definitely thinking about buying one of your slides soon.
Thanks.
I've been thinking about it. They're not like you do a lot of custom work too. That's what's interesting
And
about it.
we have hundreds of customers that we have had over the last 25 years that are still our customers. Mostly the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, PA. We sell everywhere, but our base, just like the West Coast guys, Ishmael might go down the block to Bouncing Angels or whoever he likes over there. The same thing happens here to a lot of these guys. They order from me. I'm 2 hours away from them. They save shipping, what have you, or they just like ordering local, or they come down in the summer and pick something up. So we have a strong coast base, just like the Florida guys.
You're within driving range, man.
So we do well, no complaints.
But you also, we just go into right now, but the New Jersey ratings on inflatables. That's another selling point for you, right?
Yeah, I have about 26, 27 designs that are New Jersey approved. New Jersey's the toughest state. And, to skip back a little bit, people, once in a while, people would say, how come you buy from Ninja Jump? Or how come you bought from Inflatable 2000? And I used to say, because they make good stuff and I like their stuff. It didn't bother me as a company to own everybody else's stuff. And then there are people, well, can't you just copy it and make it cheaper? Yeah, but that wasn't the point of my goal. I'm an entertainer. I'm an actor. I'm a singer. And the reason I mentioned, and I'm a magician and a clown and a fire eater and a juggler, but the reason I mentioned that was my goal was not to copy someone else. My goal was to be the best that I can be and to grow through me. So as an entertainer, if somebody else got a job, they got a commercial and I auditioned, I wasn't angry at them. I played a different way. I waited for my commercial. So I wasn't really seeing them as competitors. I saw them as peers. A little bit different thinking.
I like to do that because I don't want to try and burn bridges out here. And another thing is like there's so many good companies to buy from. I can only think of like one company off the top of my head that I would not buy from. And I love to say it all the time, but it's Omega Inflatables. Like just don't buy from them. Don't buy from Omega. Everybody will tell you, but everybody else, for the most part, they're pretty decent people, and they're making good stuff. You know what I mean? Like maybe you don't like the water slide here, but go check out their combos. Their combos might be wild. But maybe you don't like the bounce house from somewhere, but I bet you know what I mean. That somewhere else might have a bounce house that's pretty good.
For every customer who swears by somebody, there's someone else who swears at that same company.
Yeah.
For everyone who says, I love such and such, I would never buy anybody else's stuff, there's someone else who says they screwed me.
Here's another thing, too. Different units have different problems. Different people are making different items. So what's to say that the same unit's having a problem, and then the stitching, is not a wrong unit. Well, it's a different stitcher. So is it the jump, or is it the stitcher?
Or is it how wet the unit got when you left it in your truck for a week? These are all the things people don't think about. It's not always the manufacturer. And yes, sometimes you'll see online, they'll report, the customer cut my unit. And I'm looking like, no, I could see the flaw there. Listen, I make a lot of inflatables, and I used my inflatables. And that was my selling point for many years. I used to say, look, why should you buy from me? Because I use this stuff. So I know what goes wrong. When you buy from a manufacturer, and I'm not pitching to me, but when you buy from a manufacturer and they sell it and they don't use the product, they don't know why it wears and tears. They don't even know that it wears and tears. They're telling you at a trade show and you complain about it.
My biggest thing when I purchase any inflatable from anywhere is how reputable that company is in dealing with difficult things that is blatantly from a problem. Like inspect your unit when he first comes in, not when you're going to rent it out 2 months later and stuff like that. And then if you're using it like twice and the unit's like brand new and something happens, like if the the manufacturer takes care of that for the most part. First of all, it's an act of God, so don't expect shipping both ways all the time. Meet the manufacturer in the middle, because they're going to end up helping you somewhere along the run down the end anyways too.
Well,
Like, just
it says in the contracts when you sign what the rules are with any company. And if you agree to it and then you're angry, I get it, but you agree to it, and people that buy my equipment, and there's a lot out there, sometimes they don't brag about it, but they buy every year from me, $50,000, $20,000, all over the USA. Sometimes they know, like, if something happens with a piece of equipment, and I know it's our responsibility, I'm in the car, personally, and I'll bring an electrician or I'll bring a friend if there's something that went wrong. Or look, I went on the road sewing, and it was funny how some people said, "Oh,
first time I met you or talked to you was ask you about sewing."
Right, but some people said, "Oh, you're out fixing your bounces." No, I'm fixing everyone else's bounces. Why?
No, it was not even anything that you owned, and I was trying to call you about.
It wasn't my stuff, right? But I'm on the road. Why? Because my wife's away, my family's overseas, so here I am alone. I'm going to go on the road and help people, and
make
it
some
was
money,
fun.
man. Too. You're also a money making machine. Like, you like business and you like doing different things, and it's all bounce house related. Like, so okay, so we'll go into, you're a bounce house manufacturer and you're doing bounce houses for a while, but then you started making like the bulls, right? Because the same thing with bounce houses, right?
I actually bought some what they called Samson rides. Some of you will know who that is. Ted Tingle was out of the Carolinas. Yeah, he used to make these little kiddie rides for little animals that would go in a circle. And I bought some of those. But when you bought from Tingle, you knew that there were going to be issues. And so you got the ride back. You had to beef it up. And over time, I had some issues like everyone else did. I made money. I have nothing bad to say about that manufacturer, because for the price, it was well worth it. And I knew what a gem he was. But you had to repair the stuff often. So we started building other ones. I called Ted. He had a stroke. He was 70-something. And I said, "Ted, I want to build these rides. How much do you want?" And he says, "I'll send you the drawings." And I said, "Well, do you want money?" He goes, "No, I'm done." He goes, "You've been a good customer," because I bought a lot. Maybe I bought 8 or 9 rides from him. So he said, "I'll send you the drawings. If you want to make them, go make them." That was it. And I started making those rides for myself. And people were like, at the point, I actually brought in a money partner. And then I bought him out a while back because it wasn't his cup of tea. And we're still best friends. And he's in the industry. He's a big rental company still. But I'll let him say if he wants. But we're still best friends.
If you want to say, put in the comments. Okay. If you're not him, like and subscribe.
Yeah, he'll probably comment, but he doesn't talk too much on Facebook. He's on all the pages, he chats, he watches, but he doesn't comment too much. But he's been in the business 20-something years already.
I like just talking, because if you say something wrong on here, most of the time people will comment, and I haven't really had too many comments of like, "Yo, this dude's full of crap." You know what I mean?
We're gonna get those.
I'll get them.
Listen,
but
every president, 50% love him and 50% hate him, or give or take a few. So,
I don't want to be a president. I'm just out here talking.
Please everybody.
Yeah, I'm not here to please everybody at all.
You know what we used to do? The manufacturers first of all, IAPA didn't accept rental guys. They were not fans of the rental industry back in the day. If you wanted to buy an inflatable, you were going most likely to Gibtown, which was a Florida trade show.
I know exactly where Gibtown is in Florida. Sorry, my thing can't cut out, but
I see. But IAPA back in the day didn't want us. Not that they didn't want to say we were not part of their plan. Maybe that's better said, because I know there's some people that represent IAPA that are on some of these pages. I'm not trying to say it disrespectfully.
No, yeah, it was just how it was back. We're talking about history here,
right?
This is not to
degrade
anybody in the industry or
part of the amusement industry, because they were targeting Six Flags, Disney, and all the parks, Luna parks. We
worked
to them. It worked respectfully.
They have the unveilings for the different roller coasters there every single year. Right. Obviously, it worked, so they did well. And then now I think it's even better. So the timing was probably right.
Well, our industry was blowing up with manufacturers, and they realized there was enough of us, and they went to Gibtown. They saw that there's 10 of us there. Why shouldn't they, open up their doors to all the inflatables? And that's when they created, a mark. They they made a price that made it affordable for the bench guys to be outside, whatever. They didn't always have outside either. But whatever the case is, my point was a manufacturer, by the way, the old guys were inflatable 2000, Steve Gray, who's a genius in this industry. And if you don't know who he is, even though I know people bitch.
I2K is awesome. I'm actually looking into their Giant Santa stuff and stuff like that. I've been thinking about it. It's too late now, but
the reason I mention him is because he was one of the old guys, what we call an old guy. Not all the new people. Even I remember Cutting Edge's first year, but that's another story. But the whole point is we would go up to them. They would build something fantastic or creative. By the way, a water slide, Steve Gray was the first one to have a water slide. And we all looked at it like, who's going to use that? Why would you put water? Oh, that's a mess. This is the first year. We're all looking at it and criticizing. But what do we do as the rental guys back in the day? Oh, you should make that steeper. Oh, you should make that blue. We're the experts. We're telling the manufacturers. Now these days, they just make it and you buy it. So that's why when people call me and go, can you make it wider here? Can you do that? As long as it makes sense engineering-wise, we do it because I'm from the old school. So I'm kind of used to that. But you can't, the other companies know. You make a product, you make 100 of them, and you sell them out. That's how you make a living. You don't make a living making one design for one guy, then making a new design for another guy. In general, you don't make a good living. But back then, we were picky. You think you guys are picky? We were. I'm sure every one of them cursed us out when we walked away from their booth. But we also spent our money with them. HEC wasn't an old guy, but he's not a new guy. Now, I'm not talking about Kevin with all respect to Kevin, but I'm talking about the original owner, Mark Anastasia, who came out with the first obstacle course that went around in a circle, which was the adrenaline rush. To us, that was the most fascinating thing in the world. Now it's just common, But these guys really made a living for us, and we appreciated the fact that we made money, even if we weren't always happy with our manufacturer because they were late, because the left side leaned to the left, because the paint looked scraped, or those things went away real quick once we got our equipment out because we were making money and we realized they were petty.
Yep. I bought a bunch of used stuff from people this year, and I'm not displeased. Yeah, I'd probably say something about somebody, but that I'm still not even worried about it. That's the best part about it. So that's the coolest thing about it, honestly. And then this industry, there's I try to tell everybody, because I mentioned I mention leisure activities and I mention Jump Orange because I have some of their stuff. I have a tent and table slide.
The old leisure activities or the one from Tim and Elena?
Tim and Elena. I have the bounce house with the surfboard and the palm trees and the slide coming out of it, and then I have the retro. I bought the retro full price myself, and then I bought the Jump Orange for next season for this year. And then I had a HEC water slide, but it was old and it started to fill up with water, so I sold it. I'm not talking crap about HEC. I don't know. It was an old water slide, so it's what I mean. I had it. I can say what happened, but I'm not talking. This is a perfect moment to get into something here because what I mean. I really
want to get into.
No, because if I say leisure activities doesn't mean that you should only look at leisure activities. I'm a free market type guy. Whatever you buy, go look at whatever's priced around. Shop around, read the reviews, and do what's best for you. I just try to give a broad knowledge, and then here's it gets weird with little stuff like the no tarping thing. I wouldn't tell somebody in a dusty area not to tarp. You know what I mean? If you're in an area like Florida where it's super hot, you don't want a regular bounce house. You don't want anything that's pretty much not water related unless it's gonna go out or it's just a small inventory. Most of your stuff can be water units because it's so hot you can't rent anything out.
And 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, water units were just not a big deal. I mean, even I don't know, maybe
hotter out though.
Well, 10 years ago, look, we just went through a very odd summer, and one of the reasons, as a manufacturer, we had so many people wanting water slides last minute, and I'm sure my peers have also, they went crazy with water slides, but when I was asking my customers that were buying water slides from me this summer, a lot of them were saying because their customers couldn't get a pool for the kids this summer because they were sold out of pools. So, will next year be big on water slides? I'm sure it will be. But will water slides be the #1 attraction? Who knows? Things come and go. There was a time obstacle courses were. There was a time the Velcro wall was the #1 attraction. Not for a long time. But it was.
When it came out, probably, right? The first couple of years?
The first couple of years. Because back in the day, we talked to people. They didn't buy off of just a book, or the internet. We got on the phone and we told them how great something was. So that's how we sold things. When you sell just by looking at a picture, people choose different than when you sell. It's sell the sizzle, not the steak. On the internet, you're selling the sizzle by the photo. But if you get on the phone and say, yeah, the kids stick to a wall, they jump in the air. Wow, that sounds really cool. You show a picture of it, they go on to the next thing.
Yep.
Not the same. And not only that, David Letterman did it on his show once. That's all it had to take. Then everybody wanted one.
We can make it popular. The internet's a real thing, man. Everybody's buying chess right now because Queen's Gambit. Like everybody's buying chessboards and all kinds of crazy stuff now just because they released this thing on Netflix and it's like a hit.
That'll happen. Look what the Wiped Out show did. Wiped Out created the Meltdown. I mean, that was on the show.
Yeah,
that was any supplier who makes a version of that. I mean, the Meltdown, I think is what he calls it.
Wipeout is.
It's the two arms that spin in a circle. You jump over.
Yeah. All right, yeah.
None of them. I know other people did, and I know
Galaxy makes the Meltdown.
Someone else brought it out first and made a nice appearance with it.
Because when I think Wipeout, I think of Leaps and Bounds. With the balls that you run out, that's the Wipeout TV show.
Yeah, well, like the Big Baller, some
the Big Baller, same thing.
I don't know which manufacturer named that.
Leaps and Bounds is one, and then Big Baller is
the one that Gary Laurent came out with. I think he made a version that Tim brought out.
Come out with that? Did he really?
He came out with one idea that I'm pretty sure Tim over at Leisure Activities, the new Leisure Activities.
I don't know. You know what I mean? This was a couple of years ago. I just worked with them and stuff like that for the most part.
Listen, we try to come up with novel ideas. I mean, you spend time, you say, what else can I make that inflates? And you bring it to market. And sometimes you get the right group that come over, 4 or 5 guys that are all buddies, and they go to dinner and they talk about it and they make a deal to buy 5 of them or 6 of them. And the next thing you know, that's the hit in the industry. It might not be the hit with the customers, but it's the hit for the suppliers, you know? So that happens. And, look at the Bop on the Head game.
I love it. Yep, that one's kind of weird.
But not popular so much with the customers.
I like, stuff. I like hearing about things that don't even come to market at all. Like Ishmael made this inflatable dunk tank. Like, that's infamous. He's probably gonna. No, it's funny. He laughs about it himself. He was like, it was such a good bad idea.
When we used to, as a buyer,
you can't buy it. It's not. It never made it to the thing. He made a prototype. No, he made a prototype. I think he can. I don't know. He can maybe perfect it.
It could happen. There's, that's how things happen. You keep making prototypes. You play around. When back in the day, especially in the mechanical business and in the inflatable business, sometimes you draw something up, you make it, you look at it, then you fix it, and you make it better. Sometimes the engineer would look at the ride and say, you got to beef this up, that's got to be 2 inches, not 1 inch, blah, 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 and then you make it better. Sometimes you do it all in drawings first.
A lot of the water slides now have those like bulbs coming out the sides of it to make them more stable. I've noticed that. Like, that's a newish thing, isn't it?
It depends on the water slide and the man. It depends on. Not everyone needs that, but some do.
That's a newer thing, now, is it not?
Maybe 8 to 10 years I can remember seeing them. Yeah.
Well,
if you make it
it wasn't on the Titanic, man. It should have been. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't on that Titanic, and it should have been. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think the Titanic's ever tipped. They never had that problem. The problem with the Titanic was the landing, in my opinion. That's why I never
No,
did
man.
it.
That thing was horrible, man. It tipped all the time, dude.
That's what
That
anchor
thing
points are for.
I personally fell off one of those, like probably like at least 15 feet in
Hmm.
the air. No, I swear to God, and everything I
Oh no,
love
I
right down the
believe
street.
you.
No, like I
Was
never
it
sued or anything.
roll or was it some of a jump?
No, the thing deflated because because there was a bunch of people on there and I was going down and it like freaking sank. And I'm a big kid anyways, and I went right over the wall. Like
You know, this is a story about yesteryear and about maybe getting hurt on a slide or something. The first guy, and I'm sure there's some that might be able to say a little more detail than what I'm giving you, but the first guy who came up with an inflatable slide brought it to Gibtown, and it was two pieces, and it weighed thousands of pounds, and you didn't have to buy, but the way he said you transport it is you buy a Toyota and you wrap it up on the back, and it was a gigantic inflatable slide. It was the first one. I think he wanted $30,000 for it at the time. Maybe it was 25 feet high, so it wasn't much different than like a regular dry slide that would be 16 foot wide, red, yellow, blue, standard, right? And the guy brought it to the show. We all looked at it and thought it was amazing. But what was the questions? What happens if it deflates? What happens if you lose the air? Do you die? It's scary. And he's like, no, come up on top. I'll pull the plug. I remember I went up on top. The person I was with was afraid. She was afraid. And up on top, he pulled the blowers. He shut it off. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. It's not going anywhere. Very, very slow, very slow. But it was still a little scary. And for 30 grand, I wasn't going to spend 30 grand. But it was interesting. The guy ended up taking his own life, unfortunately, maybe about a year later because he had his whole investment in this business and it didn't work out. A couple of years later, the slide happened to be the #1 attraction. The price came down. Other people made their copies. And this guy who came up with the first inflatable slide never ended up going anywhere with it.
that's such a sad story. It's just
but we were afraid of it at that point. But years later, and the first one to bring it at a reasonable price was HEC. That's right when Kevin just joined Mark in the business or was taking it over as a president or something like that. And they had some slides very reasonable because they were making them overseas. So they were also doing piecework in Florida. In other words, they were paying their workers by the piece, so they were able to get much better pricing than anybody else. They were killing the market. I shouldn't say killing the market. They were killing it in the market. They were making a fortune, but they offered good quality stuff at a good price. You couldn't resist. Mark was a good businessman. I'll tell you that. And Kevin's always been a gentleman. Over these years. That's for sure.
So then I remember yours. Like you've made so much stuff and you've done so many things. I know you were telling me like I don't know. Do you want to talk about the expert witness thing?
I talk about anything. Sure.
Dude, all right. So I think this is fascinating. So like,
What's your question?
you already know. Like, explain to the people what you do as an expert witness. So I thought this was awesome.
Well, I get hired from time to time. So far, all the cases are mechanical bull cases. Some are hydraulic bulls, some are electric bulls. And they hire me as an expert witness to sometimes rebuttal, sometimes not, just to give proper information on situations that might have led up to an accident. Unfortunately, accidents can happen on rides, inflatables. Sometimes bulls are considered amusement. Sometimes they're considered sport. Sometimes they're just considered recreation, depending on your state, which means they have different laws, different things. But whatever the case is, people hire me, lawyers hire me to do some representation and give critiques on videos, critiques on manuals, hold harmless agreements, and other things, which I do. And they use that to win their cases, which so far have been very successful. I think I've won all the cases so far. Not me, but my cases have done very well.
The cases that you've been a part of on your side or whatever party,
either been resolved in a favorable way.
Outcome, yeah. So,
but look,
he's the guy you want on your side, people.
I am an expert at this business, and that's not a brag. It's not an ego. It's 30 years of owning equipment, 30 years of fixing equipment, 30 years of buying everyone's equipment, 30 years of watching people manufacture the equipment in my possession, in my building. You become an expert. You learn the materials. You learn what matters, what doesn't matter. You learn where you could skip, where you can't skip. It's just like being an entertainer. As a magician, sleight of hand, when I was younger, I studied under David Roth and these famous magicians to learn coin moves. And as I got older, I'm like, nobody cares about the move. They just want to see the coin disappear. Whether you tape it to your hand or you do something that took you 40 hours, to the audience, it's the same thing. It disappeared. So, you have to learn where you can skimp and where you can't skimp, where you could change things, just saying.
You got your Screen Actors Guild card too, don't you?
I was in a movie. I was in a couple of movies years ago. So, yes.
Not any like X-rated movies or anything like that, right? Just like R-rated.
None that have been published. No, I would never.
I'm just messing with you. I would never try to keep it PG here. So that's wild, man. So like,
yeah, I was in Warner Brothers movies. I was in.
Oh, that's wild.
It was years ago. Mick Jagger was making a solo album, and he had his first solo coming out, and he needed a juggler who could run while juggling. And I got a call from another performer who said, I can't do it, but they want a juggler who could run. I said, I could run and juggle, because I learned early on, you don't say no. You figure it out and you do it.
Did you know how to run and juggle?
I do.
Did you at that time?
Yes. However, that doesn't mean I was aware that I could. The point is, I said yes because I could juggle and I could run. So how hard could it be to run and juggle?
I was just curious. So you learned for that part?
No, I already knew how to juggle and I already knew how to run. All I had to do was do them at the same time, which I decided I can do because I wasn't going to turn down a chance to do
there. I feel you there. I decided I'm a YouTuber suddenly, so here I am.
Well, I got to tell you, when we did the name of that video is called "Let's Work." You could see it. I'm on the video about 8 to 10 times, so you'd have to freeze frame it the way they filmed it. I'm actually some of the scenes they did back then. It was all blue screen. And Mick Jagger was here. I met him. He was a nice guy to me. He wasn't the whatever. But the whole point of the matter is, I'm in the video many, many times. If you stop it, I can say, that's me, that's me, that's me in the same, because they blue screen you so they can zoom you in at all different parts. However, when we filmed it, we practiced it twice. I got it right. When they filmed it, I dropped the clubs. I'm like, oh my God. The guy behind me started cursing me out. That's it, we're out of the video. But they still put it in the video, which is very funny. If you watch the video, it wasn't the best video. But I was on MTV Music Awards because of it, so yay. And from that, the casting director loved me so much because I was joking on the set. I was fun on the set, but I wasn't. I didn't create any problems on the set. So when they were casting the movie, they called my office, and my secretary said, Warner Brothers is on the phone. They want you for a movie. And I said, okay, tell them I want a suite. And she goes, okay, I'll tell them. And they go, okay, they're going to give you a suite. I said, okay. Tell them I need a car. And she goes, really? I said, because I thought it was a fake thing, I didn't know it, but it was really Warner Brothers on the phone. So she said, okay, they're going to get you a car. Just bring all your circus props. I said, okay, done. And then the contract came. I'm like, oh my God, Warner Brothers called for me for real. I thought it was just somebody playing a joke. I didn't think it was real. And I got cast in a movie. So that's kind of the start of it all. Then when I was there, I got lines in the movie and, one thing leads to another. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I talk a lot.
You didn't go to clown school?
No, I did not go to clown school, but I taught clown school. And I actually started a clown school, and I trained the clowns for Six Flags, Riverside Park, actually all over the world. And the clowns that I trained went on to Ringling Brothers. After we trained them, some of them went on to Ringling Brothers. Some of them are running Royal Caribbean cruise ships now. They're running the entertainment. And they're still involved, and I'm very proud. One became a ringmaster for a traveling show. A couple, one at the big circus in France where you win the prizes. I forget what it's called. One of my performers. So I'm very proud of them. And there's many.
Dude, every time I talk to you, I learn something new and wild that you've done. But it's like all in the entertainment industry. Like it's literally like I grew up in the carnival, so it's like this is like my life. I've decided I'm going to do this for a very long time. it's all pretty much going to be related to this because this is what I know. So why not stick to what I know? And it's just very interesting coming from a standpoint for somebody for 30 years.
Yeah, they used to call me a jack of all trades, and I say, no, I'm a jack of one trade, entertainment, one trade. I don't care which direction it goes in. You just got to go with the wind. Just got to follow the direction and go that way. That's, look, another time we should talk about one thing in particular, like how to build a bounce, how to repair a bounce, whatever.
Yeah, this is all about this is nobody gets to talk to a manufacturer at all. You didn't even tell these people that you got a couple factories in China. You just said you're a manufacturer and you make them out of New Jersey, but they don't.
I've been manufacturing inflatables here. Then I went to China. I'll tell you what happened. My partner and I were at. First of all, I went to IAPA. I exhibited IAPA for 19 years. I didn't go last year. My father was sick. Just didn't feel like doing it. I was there, and I made sales, and I did fine. Well, whatever. But I didn't have a booth last year for the first time in 19 years. But the whole point is, back in the day, we go to IAPA. We have our bounce that we made here in New Jersey, a Castle bounce. We're going to get $3,600, but we'll discount it down to $2,400. Back then it cost about $1,400 to make a Castle bounce that was 15 by 15. And HEC is there selling bounces for $9.99. Now, I'm a manufacturer. There's no way you can make them for $9.99. The labor was $14 for sewers. It's not like overseas where it's practically nothing. In the USA, back then, labor for sewers was a lot more than it is now. Now it's a little cheaper, about the same. But the whole point is HEC's here for $9.99. I can remember my customers, my New York customers saying, Steve, how can I not buy those? And I'm thinking you're right. And my partner and I are like, it's bullshit. They can't be doing it. There's no way you can get a $9.99 bounce. And I went over to Mark and I talked to Mark because Mark and I were friends. And I said, how are you doing? And he goes, I went to China. He told me the whole story, which is not my place to share. And I said, oh my God, that's great. We ended up doing some business together. And we started buying some stuff from Mark, not exclusively. Then I opened up a factory with a company in Florida who was also a manufacturer. We opened up our own factory called New Dawn, and we got ripped off. That's what happened. We got ripped off in China, 60 grand or something like that. And then I found some other factories. Aoqi, who was always at IAPA, AOQI back in the day. Nice people, but every product they made for us wasn't to our specs, even though we had specs. So that kind of ticked me off. And then after being to China so many times, I had some friends that spoke English. I said, what can it take? Find me a building. I'll let you be the manager. I know where to buy the material. I know the supplier. Just get me a building. We'll get sewers. How hard could it be? I know how to sew. I could teach them. And that kind of started the inflatable business. And as time went on, I tried to find mechanical suppliers out in China, and they all sucked. Not that they suck. That's your fault, see? It must be a computer virus.
I know. That was wild.
But anyway, so I go to China, so I'm in China, so I'm looking at popcorn suppliers. I figured I'll buy. I didn't go to China to open up a factory. I went to China to find suppliers. But when I couldn't find suppliers that met the demand or the quality of the USA, it's not that all China suppliers suck. They don't make to our specs because they don't know our specs. So we all say, oh, China sucks. I bought an inflatable from them, or I bought a mechanical ride. It broke down in a month. Yeah, because China makes it to last a month. Well, that's because they suck. No, because they only need it for a month and they throw it away in China. They don't rent bounces in China. You're not going to find anybody renting a bounce for the backyard. If they need a bounce, they get one made, they use it for the month, and they throw it away when their season or their party's over. It's not like America. So that's
wild. I never even thought of that concept.
They don't tow anything. There's no tow hitches in China. So you're not going to see a boat on the back of a truck. You're not going to see an amusement ride towed. So it's a problem. It's a problem to get them to do it. And then when you own a factory, you think it's going to be much easier? Big mistake. Because now you're trying to train people who are going to go, why should I listen to the American? Oh, he thinks he can come to our country and open a factory. Screw him. It's the same problem America has. Oh, you're from where? Go back to your country. It's the same garbage. Just overseas, but then we're the bad ones. We're the ones that are the non-permanent residents. So, but after time, you try to get them to understand USA, needs. USA needs. I forget the word that I use. But the whole point is, it's not that they're bad and evil. They just don't make to our specs because you didn't give them any specs. You know, if you say make a pencil, they make it. Just because it's not the same as you wanted, it's because you didn't tell them what you wanted. And sometimes you get thieves and scumbags, just like you get here. And sometimes you get honorable manufacturers that don't know what your requirements are, so they just make it as cheap as possible. That's their job. You know, it's so even people like Omega, I know him very well. I knew him when he worked at other factories, and he invited me to a factory when he didn't have a factory, and he didn't show up because when he realized who I was, he knew that it was going to be a problem for him. But you know, that doesn't mean Mr. Lin doesn't do a good job with his suppliers. Are they Americanized? No. You know, are they learning? Yeah. That's why some of these factories are charging American prices now. You know, but that's because everybody who calls them now says, "Oh, do you have a drain here? Did you do this with your seams? Are you using this material?" Some of them lie. You know, they'll lie about what they're doing, and once you get it here, you're screwed. But that goes back to what Mark from Tent and Table will always say. You know, Mark's, who's also a great person.
I like Mark.
Yeah, I do too. You know, we've had dealings together, good and never bad. You know, we chat and all that. But the whole point, what does he say? You know, you have to know your supplier. You know, now he might say, I didn't say that. Well, not in those words, but yeah, you have to know who you're buying from. You don't just go to China and you buy from somebody, you know, because they're cheap. You know, could you imagine somebody saying, "Hey, I got a TV out of the back of my van. Oh, great, I trust you. Here it is." You get home, it's a broken TV, or it looked like a real TV, but it's a fake. You got to know who you're buying from. You know, that's where the companies that went overseas, you know, hit the mark. They spend a lot of money to go over there, find the right suppliers, and now they're going to benefit from it. Mm-hmm. But so are you. But some people don't like that they're benefiting. They want it as cheap as possible.
How long ago has this been going
on? For me?
No, like
I guess about 15 years, 16 years, something like that. You know, so HEC was the start, you know, and there's more to that story, but it's not my place to, but that's about it, you know. And, but they were amazing what they did, you know, so that's how it all started.
So you don't just make inflatables and stuff like that. You make we're just gonna go ahead and probably start going towards the end of this thing. But I'm also going to let Steve here talk about his company and some of the things he sells, because I do promote what Steve does and everything. Like, as he is, I promote Steve as a person. He's a wonderful guy, to be honest with you guys and girls. YouTube.
The things I manufacture were things that I wanted and I couldn't find. And how would I ask? I would go up to a manufacturer and say, "Can you make a laser arena for the laser guns?" And sometimes they'd say no. Now, these products came out. I'm not the genius behind every product. That's not what I'm saying. But like you guys, I was out there saying, "I got 15 slides. What else you got?" And sometimes, like Gary Laurent and other people, I mentioned Gary. First of all, Gary's a friend of mine for many years. Sometimes he buys stuff, and he's always been cordial and he's always nice to me. But the reason I mentioned Gary is because he's a thinker. He's out there trying to come up with new ideas. That doesn't mean they're all hits, but at least there's someone out there saying, "Can you make this? Can you make that?" And those are the people that sometimes change the industry, even though nobody will remember who they are or whatever. So, he's come out with some things that I know over the years that have been successful.
I've seen him do he's doing with leisure, something like with the foam and the water slide with like a chute and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure he came up with that or something.
We made a snow inflatable mountain about 14 years ago that I brought to IAPA, and I have photos of it there. But that doesn't mean other people didn't come up with the same idea. It does. In other words, everything that I made doesn't make that someone else cheated me. No. You know what I mean? Sometimes, as a comedian, something would happen in the news, and as a comic, I would sit there and say, "What kind of joke can I make about whatever, Obama, Trump?" And sometimes you say Jay Leno back then, and you go, "Oh, that's my joke." But he didn't hear it from me. He came up with the same joke as writers, So
I came up with Tuesday Tent Talk, and Fred's Tent is doing Tuesday Tent Talk as well for theirs, but it's just for their company doing their own sales thing. But it's still Tuesday Tent Talk, and now we use that for Adam's show. But it was like we're still keeping it. Nothing's bad's happening because we're just doing our own thing on YouTube.
Fred's been around a long time too. He's been around a long time.
Yeah, I love Fred. I would never, you know what I mean? It's no dissing Fred or anything. Fred's a wonderful guy. I like his Tuesday Tent Talk. You should definitely check that out on Facebook. But he's not on YouTube. We're not. It's Fred's Tent Tuesday Tent Talk. I'm not. we don't want beef with Fred's tents. We're gonna keep saying it. We love Fred, man.
That's good. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I find him to be a very nice guy.
Dude, he put some really good I'm trying to talk to him to come on here, but really good educational videos out there. Like some really cool stuff. Yeah, if you go on his Facebook thing, yeah, there's a bunch of really cool videos.
He's another one, like me that, and we're not the only ones that are manufacturing.
He started in the car industry too. He started in the carnival.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There, people that started in the industry and then became manufacturers or vice versa have a lot to offer because they have the wisdom. They have the experience out there. They already know where it's going to bust or what the customer is going to be complaining about. So you learn a lot more. But I want to briefly say what I do.
Yeah, I want to just start naming some products.
I create and manufacture inflatables. We create and manufacture mechanical rides. I bought out 2 competitors over the years, including Dixieland Fun Machines, which many of you, we've sold 300 or 400 turbo tubs alone. So I know everybody out there, if you go to Google, you'll see our stuff. And we have thousands of happy customers, 3 or 4 that will never be happy, but thousands of happy customers, just like everyone else does. So, and again, I made the mechanicals because I wasn't happy with the other supplier years ago. So I bought another company and created my own from that company the right way. I didn't copy, I bought them. I bought them out. But then I make the carnival booths that are now the pop-ups, but ours are very heavy duty. We started with cheap ones, and the cheap ones, my guys would close and smash, and they'd be broken.
Yeah, I don't like the cheap ones.
Duty. Yeah, but that's what's selling out there now. A lot of people want what we used to call the disposable ones, but we're the original ones who came up with the heavy duty carnival booths, the red and white stripe, the back wall. And why did I come up with them? Because before that, you had metal with pieces. You had to put it in front of the table. You had to build it. It was a pain in the neck. There were 12 parts. So I said, why don't we make a hinged one? Then we made a hinged one. Then I said, why don't we just make a pop-up? And I couldn't get easy. I tried to get Easy Up to make it. I tried to get Katie Canopy to make it. Nobody would do it for me. So I did it myself. At this point, I already had a factory in China. I just had to make up material. Why
wouldn't they? Because all you gotta do is change the fabric and put those little freaking bars on it.
Because when one guy like you walks up to a manufacturer and says, hey, if you make a dolphin on the top, the manufacturer looks at you and smiles, but rolls his eyes like, okay, great, he wants that. I need 100 of them to sell. So manufacturers don't always have those open ears, or they do, but it's not the time. Years ago, my brother had given me a great idea to do something. And I said to him, that's a great idea. I appreciate it. And he got angry at me for not doing it. And all I keep thinking was, I don't have the money to do it right now. I think it's a great idea, but I'm not ready for that. But it was just insulting to him that I didn't do it. So it's hard for a manufacturer to do everything that the customers want, unless the customers put up the bucks for it. It's a lot easier.
You more than anybody probably watching this, unless it's some of the big guys, probably even know like what it really takes to go from a thought to an actual physical item in a manufacturing process. So
I've experienced it all, but I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I haven't experienced it at least. And
I mentioned him before, and I'm not trying for brownie points. But like Steve Gray was not just a bounce guy. He came out with creative stuff. Were they all his ideas? I don't know, but he brought them to our market. So what do I care? He made, Peter Herzig, who a lot of people hate, was a genius. He's the one who brought sumo wrestling back in the day. And he brought us Velcro walls, Velcro obstacles. Before there was an obstacle course, there was a Velcro obstacle course. So the first obstacle course is you had to put a Velcro suit and run through it. Then somebody said, screw these.
It sounds awesome.
It was great, but it was difficult. And it was also a pain in the neck because it got so dirty. Then somebody took off the next thing, we were getting obstacle courses without that. But that wouldn't have happened without Peter Herzig, or at least. So all these people that were grumpy over, because maybe we bought a product that didn't work the way we wanted to, made us a lot of freaking money anyway. So at the end, we wouldn't be existing if it wasn't for them, even though we are not always happy with everything. So, but yeah, so that's how I got into everything, because I had a need, just like most of you. I'm sure if you're home and, you're cooking something and you're missing salt, you might try to find something else to add to it. Well, that's what we did, but we did it.
I love your bumper cars. And even if you don't have your bumper cars that go on like multiple surfaces, your battery ones, like even if they don't buy them from you, I don't know where else you can even get them from. but you make the coolest freaking arena that's
Thanks.
out there for that. Like that's hands down.
Thanks. And it took a lot of years we tested the bumper cars for 3 years with my rental company before we even brought them to market, because I didn't want anybody else to have it. I wanted to be the only one with it. But the hardest thing about the bumper cars was to get them to run for 5 hours. That was the hardest thing.
You have to have a bunch of batteries.
So now they do it. Well, not just batteries, it's also other secret sauces inside the unit.
Yeah, it's probably true too.
But it took a long time.
Now all I need is a bunch of batteries.
And then the other problem with the bumper cars, they were like the round bumper cars, which
the round ones. That's what I'm talking about. They're hard to transport, but we made a freaking thing. You just roll them on its side on like a cushion platform, and then just ratchet strap them in, and you can fit 4 of them right next to each other in the back of a truck.
The round ones depends who you're buying from. There's some that are excellent out there. The problem with the excellent ones are $7,000 to $10,000 a bumper car, and there's
I'm thinking they're yours.
And then there's the kind of ones that are very, very inexpensive but are not good for every surface. Ours run on any hard surface. We did make one that runs on grass. We call that the all-terrain. It wasn't as popular. We still make them, but we don't sell a lot of them. Most people buy the hard ones, which you can go in a gym floor. The reason bumper cars are a great product is because they're all ages. Anything that can be all ages makes you more money because it goes out for high school, college, and kids. If you only have a little ball pit, it ain't going out to colleges, so it's limited.
That's an easier hard ride to get into, I feel. Like a trackless train.
Trackless train, the bumper cars are things you can easily put on a truck, take off. They don't take a lot of knowledge to run.
I love your tub. Like I personally set up your tubs and your swing.
Yeah,
so I like
the person you used to work with.
Yeah, so I personally.
My rides. They're nice people, to me.
Yeah, they like who they like. I don't like them. Yeah. I'm not getting into
Welcome
that.
To life.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Got their own agenda, and hopefully you can.
Exactly. So, but I'm not I learned some stuff from him. I learned more about hard rides. I got to work with some of your equipment. That's what I would told you. I was like, Action Rides. Yeah. Oh, they made a bunch of stuff for that for what's his face. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're big.
All right, yeah, I heard about this dude. I was like, this dude's coming to fix my bounce house. I thought, you know what I mean? So it's like, what? Why is he doing it? And I was like, oh dang, it's really really do have a manufacturer coming to repair your inflatables when you hit you up.
Well, not only that, don't forget, not only do I do that, I'm hired by companies to come in and lecture for a day or two, to teach their drivers to have better feelings about being drivers. Not to feel like, oh, all I am is a drop-off guy, or, so I have a lot of different things. I like doing everything, I don't know. You only live once, so why not try everything? But it's all in the same industry. I enjoy it all. Look, if you own a bounce house, you end up repairing it, right? It's going to happen someday.
I've been waiting to get into the class. I've been thinking about it because it's just there's no reason that the dude who's trying to teach party rental knowledge, I know how to make a repair last for an event to get to you guys. That's you know what I mean? But I'm trying to repair them eventually. Now that's an owner thing. It's something I didn't have to worry about before because I was too busy out here. I know a lot about operating and making money and a bunch about quick repairs, quick fixes, and storage and warehouse stuff and moving stuff around because I grew up in the carnival and different moving companies and different building companies. So it's like,
so you do it all.
Yeah, I try to do it all, but now I'm an owner. I've never been an owner. I've always wanted to be the boss, but now I'm the boss. So I've never learned. Oh, I love it. I'm just trying to let it get to my head.
Well, I've seen people get real rude and disrespectful when they become the boss. You can't be rude and disrespectful, but you also can't be anybody's buddy. Because when you're their buddy, then they're helping you. I can't tell you, the worst workers I used to have were the ones that said, I'll help you out today. And I'm thinking no, I don't want you to help me. I'm going to pay you. And the reason it's because those guys always feel like you owe them something, and you don't want to put people in a situation where they act like you own them. So, you just want them to come in, do a good day's job, feel respected and go home. But once you're their buddy, all of a sudden,
I learn quick too, and I'm trying. it's hard for me to teach people at my learning pace because it's you know what I mean.
Well,
Me
everybody's different.
exactly.
I've
I'm learning all
hired
these things
guys
as
that
a
have come in.
teacher.
I've hired guys that had no experience in our business. They come in and it's like, how do you know how to roll that? How do you know? And they're like, why wouldn't I know? And then you get other people that can't figure it out. And it doesn't make them stupid. It's just different abilities, or different thinking ways, So you find all different types. You find what works for you. But everybody starts off with them and their buddy helping them set up the first bounces.
Yeah.
And you're making money and your buddy's not growing. And then your buddy's going to resent you. And then you move on to workers because your buddy eventually becomes a worker, right? He can't be your buddy for the next 30 years as you grow. He's either got to be something else or he ends up, but that's how we all start. We start.
I fired my best friend so he can still be my best friend. I told him that.
It happens. So is he still your best friend?
No, he got fucking drunk and pissed off at me on Halloween. So we haven't talked in two months. So
it's a hard business, and you've got to keep the ego in check. And it's so
I think
hard.
I swore a bunch in this interview. I'm not sure.
What's that?
I think I swore a bunch in this interview. I don't even think. I'm not sure. But either way, we signed off and signed back on. So listen, guys, Action Rides. This is Steve Portskin. How do you say your last name? Peretskin?
Yeah, that's good. Either way.
How do you? Is it Peretskin?
Peretskin is how I say it, but I don't. I've heard lots of other things, which
I don't. I just noticed I've always not pronounced the E. Yeah. I always just put port.
I answer to both. There's a few I won't answer to, but those are okay.
Skin ports, something like that. Peretz.
No.
I don't know, but you guys listen. This guy's awesome. Check out these videos, guys. Right. Party Rental Knowledge. Like and subscribe.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them below. I'll find them and I'll answer them about anything. It really doesn't matter.
Sweet. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.